Come with me, I'm headed down the right path. I feel so brave, my head held high and I'm showing class. Dreams ignited, every day I truly give my best. I'm thriving excitedly to be the very best version of myself. I'm so bold and I'm so brilliant. I feel amazing, I feel so resilient. I'm so bold and I'm so brilliant. I'm so amazing, I feel so resilient.
Today is Dr. Gertrude Lyons, a pioneering life coach, TEDx speaker, and author of Rewrite the Mother Code. Now, with over 2 decades of experience guiding women through transformation, Dr. Lyons challenges traditional ideas of motherhood and invites us to embrace it as a powerful force for creativity, purpose, and self-discovery. Dr. Lyons, welcome to the Chundria Show. How are you today?
I am doing great, Chundria. Thank you so much for having me today.
Of course. Yes, you are doing great. I'm excited for this book tour you're on. I'm excited to talk about your new book. So let's dive on in today. Is that okay?
That sounds perfect. Thank you so much.
Of course. So in your book, you describe motherhood as, I love this, a cosmic force rather than just a role. A lot of us aren't mothers yet. So how can women begin to reconnect with that particular energy, whether or not they have children?
No, I love that so much, Chandra, and I emphasize this numerous times in the book that all women, really kind of all people when we get down to it, but all women conceive, create, give birth to children if they choose at some point, but to careers, ideas, dreams, pets, elderly parents, you know, the whole gamut, right? Anywhere where we put our caring, creative energy, we're mothering. So, but the most important person we need to mother is ourselves. So that's how we start on this journey, is understanding that you're a mother right now, whether you have a child or not, and to really claim that aspect of ourselves. And if you do believe you want children at some point, it's the best preparation you can do is the self-mothering practice that I know we're going to talk about more, but you know, that I would say is kind of the crux of it, right? That we want to expand the definition of what it means to be a mother. And then within that definition, we need to disband old, disempowering beliefs, wiring that we have about what mothering and potentially motherhood is for us.
That's so beautiful. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the full title is Rewrite the Mother Code from Sacrifice to Stardust. What inspired you to write this book?
Yeah. Well, I would say the biggest inspiration was my own journey, a combination of my own journey through marriage, my adult life, I guess. But what inspired me, and then coaching other people, other women, other parents. And what inspired me to write the book was I realized at a certain time, when my children were older, that this journey of self-realization is one that we can encompass and weave into all parts of our life, but where it gets mostly left out and where we abandon ourselves in that journey often, and I did that myself, despite being immersed in that kind of environment, it's really hard to hold on to the possibility that motherhood particularly can be transformative, and it can be a vehicle for our self-realization. So the sacrifice to stardust aspect is, the old model is it's something we have to sacrifice for. The new model is it's something that can lead us to self-realization. And that is something that I've been a seeker of my whole life. But like I said, motherhood kind of threw me for a loop with that. So that's when I decided to study it and get a master's and doctorate in that arena. And then eventually realized that, well, nobody reads a dissertation. So after coaching in it and doing workshops and speaking on it, I realized that a way I really wanted to get the message out was through a book. And that was its own definite birthing, for sure.
I love that you are setting out and kind of challenging the norm, and creating new ways to do things, and you're encouraging other women in the process. You mentioned, I like to ask, what are some of the outdated beliefs about motherhood that continue to limit women's growth, and how can we begin to rewrite those narratives ourselves?
That's a great question, and it's it's a lot of what I talk about in the book because sometimes we may be aware, we may be able to look around and see some of them, right? I think what I've seen in the environment is there are a lot of women who either see women engaging in motherhood as sacrifice, as something that is really that they're going to have to put everything else aside, and that's what we're taught. That's how many of us have been raised. And I think one of the most damaging beliefs that we have and mother codes that we have is that having a child means putting yourself last, if at all, on the list, right? So that's a really outdated one, but one that's been wired in for thousands of years, Chandria. So this is not an easy one to break, and we all get it conceptually. But if we look at that one to start seeing that, no, when you can start first breaking any beliefs and looking at and understanding and raising your awareness that that wiring is there, then you can start practicing something different, right? Then you can start doing anything from basic self-care and really prioritizing yourself to in-depth personal work, right? Understanding, getting to know yourself. This self-realization path is one that I invite everybody onto, because if we want to get the most out of the endeavors that we take on in our life, knowing ourselves opens up space and doors for us. So it may not be a first step for everybody. The first step may just be being aware, oh, I didn't realize I was sitting in some of these paradigms. Others are that if you're going to, well, we feel this way about a lot of things, but I think it shows up in motherhood so intensely, is that there's a right way to do it. And that right way, and often is filtered down, through our family wiring and through our cultural wiring. And what I invite women to, in that one particularly, to bust that one up, is to identify what that wiring is. That's part of the self-realization. Identifying what some of that wiring is, and then creating your own path. Creating through that exploration, you're going to discover what your deeper desires are, what matters to you, what values you want to inhabit in your life and bring to whatever you're mothering. And that can help orient you, help you make decisions when, everyone around you is going to come at you with their opinions, their way to say this is the right way, and to sort through all that. When we begin to write our own mother code and really claim that for ourselves, it's possible.
I love that you've introduced us to these mother codes, and how can I identify which code I've been living by, or decide which code would better serve me?
Great question. Well, one of the ways I coach or support women to open that door for themselves is to take a little bit of reflection time, right? And you can go as deep or as, light touch as you want with this. But when we look at our family upbringing and we make two lists: what I liked about the mothering I received, the care I received, what I saw around me, and what I didn't like. So we're not putting blame. We're not, this can lead to deeper work, but we're just naming what we liked and what we didn't like. And that is a really powerful activity, because it brings to light, like, for example, I didn't like that my mother never took me to activities or really took me to and from school. So I may come into motherhood and say, well, I'm going to not do that. I'm going to always take my child, wherever, because I wanted that. But when we look deeper at that, like, that's a code of doing it right, that there's some right way. But when we look at what we personally want in that, or value, it was the connection. When I looked at that for myself, I desired more connection, with my mother. And we can figure that out in lots of ways. There's plenty of ways we can foster connection, with our child. It doesn't have to be that specific way. So when we go on that journey of sifting through those, that'll help us create and really shine the light on what matters to us.
That's really beautiful. And I like that you're in this book, you're giving women this beautiful power back. And I think a lot of women can relate to balancing their careers and balancing these relationships and balancing family and it's just a lot of expectation sometimes. So, what does a fulfilling and conscious version of motherhood look like in modern time?
Well, well, first I'll say this about it, right? In our time, it's a radical act, right? It's revolutionary when we start mothering ourselves and putting ourselves first. So I'm gonna, I know I keep repeating that one because it's the doorway for all of us. And then I would say something that we've shut ourselves off from, and a code that's wired in pretty deeply, is that our emotional landscape, our emotional capacity is shut down and shut off. So that's our superpower, and reclaiming and a reclamation of our emotional facility. And that I always give a practice of starting at some point in your day, naming every emotion that you have felt so far and where: fear, hurt, anger, sadness, joy, and start bringing that life force back into your daily life. That's going to open doors for you and support you in mothering yourself. They may not seem they may not be as obviously connected, but it's a foundation that I really want to support us all in claiming.
And I think that we'll do that. I think that's a great reason to move forward in this direction of owning that, and embracing that. Is there a moment that you could share in your personal life that inspired you to challenge the traditional story of motherhood and embrace your own way of rewriting it? Was there a moment, a defining moment?
Yeah. I just had 5 come through, right?
One or five.
One or five, right? Well, I'll just go with the first one that came through, and that was because there's a whole journey in some of these moments doing it differently in my conception process, some of which was understanding and claiming that I was when things weren't working as I thought they were supposed to, having a very deep, profound experience that I was terrified. I was actually terrified to be a mother. So my body was actually not cooperating, even though my mind said I wanted it. But then I would say a choice that I made, and it was one that I discerned, but also first came from a very intuitive place, even though it was really out there for me from my upbringing, was to have home births with my children. And that was something I didn't even know existed, let alone, think about having for myself. But when I had worked on rewriting my mother code, that there's a right way to do it, that you do what everybody else is doing, and of course a hospital is the safest place to give birth. Why would you even consider not doing that? I had an intuitive sense that, when I heard that my boss at the time actually had home births, it just made sense to me. And so I kept following that little spark of this is weird, but I kind of like it. And it kept leading me. And then when I turned to my mother code of wanting to, within my mother code is being present, having conscious experiences to learn and grow, to be present. The home birth kept bringing me back to that, and that's where I could really have that. And I still studied it. I still discerned. I researched, the two possibilities. But I didn't immediately, when I got a lot of negative things coming at me and doubt, and from family, from friends, from people around me and the medical, some people in the medical community, but not all, thinking I was, nuts. The data just didn't match all of their thinking and believing, which is what I had to look at, right? When I looked, it's Nope, just as safe, maybe safer, and things that in our culture we just take for granted. So that journey, that process of seeing a way I really want to do it that was different and following that urge.
That's remarkable. What I really appreciate about you is how selfless you are. Not only in coaching women, but then you've written this amazing book, and you're calling out to help people. In their daily lives. You're nurturing. You're continuing to mother women across the world. And I wish you, unimaginable success with your book. Wonderful. Dr. Gertrude Lyons, you have been a true pleasure. Thank you for being my special guest today on the Chundria Show. You did it.
I did it. Thank you so much, Chundria. This was so fun. Great way to start my day.
Staci Kirk is a 6-time cancer warrior, empowerment speaker, and award-winning leadership coach. Now, with raw honesty and fierce grace, she's transforming lives with her new book, Hold On Sis, Let Me Take My Wig Off. Staci Kirk, welcome to the Chundria Show. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
I'm excited.
Yes, me too. Let's dive on in and talk about this book. The title draws you in. Hold On Sis, Let Me Take My Wig Off. It's bold. It's beautifully raw. What inspired you to take your wig off?
I think the authenticity of it, for one, true story, when I was going through chemo, I think I've lost my hair maybe 4 or 5 times by now, but I just couldn't get with the wigs. And I realized that was just shedding off the inauthentic, the have to be strong, the have to make sure that you're presenting a certain type of way. And so I presented what I was going through and took that wig off and became my authentic self. I knew that my voice would help someone. And so by being authentic and really working with what I had, which was a bald head, I was showing people it was okay that whatever you're going through, it's okay to go through that.
Awesome. Now, you've taken this wig off literally and metaphorically. What inspired you to share your journey so openly? It's such a vulnerable position to be in. You've gone through so much. You've overcome so much. Why share your journey so openly with others?
I think we don't do enough of that. I think that we have been conditioned to have a strong face, make sure that we're always presenting a certain type of way. And I think that my authenticity and my transparency, I knew was going to help someone else realize that they could get through whatever it was they were going through as well. And so sharing my story, whether it be on social media, whether it be through my new book, I wanted people to know it's okay to be you, and it's okay to go through obstacles, and that you can bounce back. You can keep living after such things as diagnoses or whatever, might come your way. And so I know that transparency is helping someone, even if it's one person, it's helping someone know that they can make it through.
Now, you faced cancer 6 times. How did your definition of strength and resilience evolve after each diagnosis? Did it strengthen you each time, or was it a mixed feeling through that?
I think it strengthened me in different ways. So early in my life, because I've been fighting cancer since 14, I'm now 51, which is a blessing in itself. But I think, early on, I was that strong person. I remember when I was 23 getting my diagnosis of Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I remember comforting my mom and my ex-husband now, but I remember being the person comforting them after hearing that I have cancer. And so the evolution has been the strength in knowing that it's okay to take care of myself. It's okay to, focus on me and require that the people around me do the same. And so the strength has changed throughout, this evolving diagnosis after diagnosis. I also realized that I don't have to always say I'm okay. And that's what I did. Can I help you? Is there something I need? People really wanted to help me through these journeys. And I'm like, oh no, I'm good. And I wasn't good. And so I find myself being stronger and stronger by understanding that it's okay to not be okay, literally. And now I'm stronger than ever because I do have those rest days. I do rely on my friends and family when I can't, I just can't. There are times when still I can't get out of the bed because of the lasting effects of chemo and radiation and all the surgeries that I've had. And so I'm okay with saying, hey guys, I can't do it today. And I wasn't that way before. And so I feel like that's a different type of strength.
Really proud of you. Because you've taken like something that's unimaginable. You didn't expect that in your life, and you didn't expect to go through it so many times. But like there's a real beauty in your strength. Even to be able to encourage someone else that's your mom or your ex-husband or anybody around you that's like taking the news hard, and you have to like I'm the one dealing with it. But I'm comforting you. Like that's a beautiful, even a beautiful silent strength at some points too, where you just kind of have to be alone in that feeling, and then you're like, I'm okay, I don't need anything. But like even your silence is strong. My God.
Yeah. Thank you.
So there's millions of people in the world that are dealing with chronic illnesses, and there's a lot of misconceptions about thriving through those illnesses. So I'm really glad that you spoke to that. Like, can you address like some of the misconceptions or challenges with those narratives, and how people can be better, like encouraging people to be better support systems?
I get this a lot because people want to help. That's one of and I start with the patient themselves. I like talking to them to say, you know what, I understand that you don't know, because you don't know what you need. Honestly, when you get that type of diagnosis, so many things are going on in your head and you don't know what you need. And I start with them by saying, let people do something. Think of things. That is your way of loving on them during this time, because they need to do something for you. If they can't do something, they feel, restless or like they're not contributing to your recovery or to your healing. And so I start there. And then I say to, people who are loved ones of cancer patients or any, traumatic illness, just ask, but be soft about it. Understand that we don't know what we need. We don't know what we want. And be patient with us. And also, don't impose what you think you should be doing or they should be doing or your thoughts on them, because what you think their treatment should be may not be what they want to do, and be understanding around that. And be strong for each other, or take moments to not be strong at all and just let it all go. If you need to cry, cry. And this is the other thing, and don't laugh, but this is the other thing that I like to tell people. You don't have to relate to cancer patients. People always come up to me and say, oh yeah, my aunt died last year for that. We don't want to hear that in that moment. And so be strong enough to understand silence is okay. Just being present is okay. And you can just be around someone and let them know, hey, I'm here for you, and leave it at that. Because we don't want to hear about your aunt who passed away. We don't want to hear about, even though people feel like they have to relate and that's the only way they know how, it is not feeling good for us right now. And so just keep that in mind. Those are the things that I think I try to impart upon people. And again, the most important part is don't put your ideas of what you think we should be doing on us. Because it's our diagnosis. At the end of the day, it's our diagnosis. We have to do what's best for us.
A great point that people, and I think a lot of times people think that they're helping you by making the suggestions or telling you what you should try, telling you should rest, telling you what you should do, and this is a very personal journey. And so, I think that's a great note to add, and I think it can help a lot of people who might have family or friends or even be going through it themselves. I think and I hope that you help a lot of people today. Now, I love that you've transformed this, this experience into a purpose. You even put it in your name now, and you're speaking and you're coaching. What's one message that you hope every woman, or really even every person, carries after hearing your story?
That adversity and challenges, that's not your story. That is just not even a page, to be honest. You can make it through anything that is presented with you. I like to tell, especially people that I coach, you came here with everything you need in order to withstand whatever comes your way. You came here with the tools. You came here with, all of everything that you need. And so stop looking outside. Stop worrying about you're not going to make it. Stop, just understand and go within. A lot of times we don't take the time to go within. It's in there because you were designed or built for this. You were built for this. And a lot of times we let things, and it's human, because I always say, feel how you feel first, but don't stay there. Don't stay there. Start looking at the tools. Well, what do I have? What are my gifts? What ideas do I have? How can I pivot with what has been presented? I've lost my job. I've been in corporate America for years. I've lost my job twice. And it was a blow because, women, sometimes we identify that's our identity, how we show up, our titles, etc. But I had to say, okay, now what is this? Is this a message? Is this, my faith telling me you're supposed to be an entrepreneur anyway, so stop it? I had to take that thing and turn it around. And a lot of times you do. You have to look at it for what it is. Let it hurt for a minute, cry, throw some things, do what you got to do, and then recognize that this is all a part of your journey and every step is making you closer to who you're supposed to be.
You really personally inspired me today to be true to how you feel, true to, what you're facing in that moment, and you face it head on, and you don't run from it, you don't hide it, you take it on the chin. If it's a good day, it's a good day. If it's a tough day, if it's a day you want to be by yourself, it's a day you need company, you need support around you. But in those moments when you don't feel strong or you didn't feel strong, what helped you tap into like your own inner power to keep going?
I always say I'm still here for a reason. That's my big thing, that I haven't quite yet fulfilled my purpose yet. I mean, think about it, 6 times with cancer, and I've withstood other, traumas throughout my life. And so, I've been through molestation, bad divorce, all of those things. And so, you kind of got to sit back and say, now, how much more can a person take? But the weight of that can be so heavy. And I always want to translate it to, okay, you gave me this for a reason. What do I need to do for it? And I realize that a lot of times I'm just the vessel so that somebody else is blessed. And so I don't get too down on myself. I don't get too down and out because I realize that this isn't about me. This is about all the other people that are going to see what I've gone through and be encouraged and be inspired.
I'm so excited for you. I'm so proud of you. And I think that you've withstood so much. And for you to use your voice, because you could have survived all this and just been content in the world, like, I'm still here and I'm present, but you are taking your experience and you're using it to inspire and empower other people. And for that, I thank you. I thank you for that, truly.
Oh, yes. Yes. Thank you.
What a powerful conversation with Staci Kirk. Her strength, vulnerability, and unwavering commitment to authenticity reminds us all to hold on, even in the hardest seasons. I want to thank you so much for watching the Chundria Brownlow Show. Don't forget to subscribe, follow us on social media, and share this episode with someone who needs a little extra encouragement today. Until next time, stay bold, stay bright, take good care of yourself.
Come with me, I'm headed down the right path. I feel so brave. My head held high and I'm showing class. Dreams ignited. Every day I truly give my best. I'm thriving excitedly.